This is Santino Marella, and you're watching Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler, and I am joined in person again with the one and only Mojito Mike. Ryan Gingers are up. Cheers, my friend. What's going on?
This is 3 out of 4 weeks that we're doing this in person.
I don't like it.
and the only good show we put out was the one where we didn't. So
that's fair. That's fair. Well, tonight should be better. I did not work a 17-hour day today, although it did feel like it. But I have energy this week.
I did, just not at work.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I have kids. I feel like I get Heath now. You know what I mean?
I got kids.
Like I get where Heath was always coming from.
I don't give a shit about your kids.
I'm the Heath. You're the Snitsky.
I'll boot fuck everything and then lick your feet. All right, well, that's about it. That's counted out in a nutshell here.
Cheers.
For those first time listeners, you want your foot licked? Just hit the subscribe button. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mike will lick your foot.
Tyler is the Tony Atlas of podcasting.
Card subjected to change this week. I got inspired over the weekend by Elimination Chamber. So my next list, I will do the top 7 tag team wrestlers of all time. But this week, I really got inspired by Montreal. I really got inspired by Sami Zayne. So I'm doing the top 7 WWE hometown moments. They don't have to be feel-good moments. These have to be great hometown moments for superstars. And
first of all, let me say I think you were smart to narrow this down to WWE.
Yes, because otherwise the whole list would have been the Von Erichs and Jerry Lawler.
You know what I mean? Because that was my first thought when you said you were doing this. I said, is he taking the territory days into consideration because they pretty much depended on hometown crowds?
Uh-huh.
You know, you brought in your touring champion and shit to face your hometown hero. And so I think you were very smart to narrow down to WWE. We're going to have some great moments here. And I have a feeling a lot of them are going to be in our backyard.
Yeah. When I was doing this, I'm trying not to be a homer when I do this list, but no offense to our good old friends over in America, but there's just something real special about when us Canadians get behind somebody. And it's like that perfect circle that we saw this weekend with Sami Zayne. There was a buzz, and we're in Toronto. Montreal's about 6 to 7 hours away from us. I could feel the buzz all the way over here, which is really cool. And Montreal was electric for Sami Zayne. He will not be on my list this week only because he's what inspired my list.
Well, this won't be. I mean, he's had other.
Well, that's right. The Elimination Chamber weekend will not be on my list. But I mean, even on SmackDown, that was crazy. Sami Zayn was, you would have thought that Stone Cold Steve Austin walked down the ramp in Montreal there.
I was talking to a mutual friend of ours and my co-manager, Eddie Good, and we were talking about Montreal in general. And I told him, no matter what I attend in Montreal, it's fucking insane. I have seen some of the best concerts in Montreal. I have seen some of the best wrestling shows in Montreal.
Eddie Good and I have seen some of the best strippers in Montreal together.
Well, Eddie brought up the fact that you two saw GSP in Montreal.
Uh-huh.
Now, I want to ask you, I'm putting you on the spot here. Obviously, we weren't there in person, but you saw it on TV. You saw the pop that Sammy got Friday night and Saturday night. Does it compare to GSP's pop live?
It's different, very different because of the way that UFC is structured compared to wrestling.
Right. I don't think I ever seen I don't watch it as much anymore because I used to watch every single UFC pay-per-view, and I don't remember seeing a crowd so unhinged than that Montreal crowd.
I won't say that. I'm not going to say that one was bigger than the other. I'll just tell you my own personal experience with that Montreal crowd with GSP. It was GSP versus Matt Serra is the one that I went to.
Yeah.
So it was the first ever UFC in Montreal. I put that right up there with Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The crowd intensity was the exact same. The Olay chants were incredible. Every time GSP landed a knee, the whole crowd popped for it. When GSP won, I was hugging 10 random people that I've never met in my entire life. We were jumping up and down, hugging. The place was going so crazy, and the overflow out into the streets was so fun that we didn't even realize that we had walked like 8 blocks the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we turned around, and we're not from Montreal. It's our first time in Montreal. So we're just like, well, let's just walk back to the Bell Center so we can get to our hotel. We walked up to him. We ended up stumbling across the back entrance, and we met all the fighters after they came out, which was cool. Like we met Matt Serra after GSP kicked his ass.
Oh shit!
And
he was in a good mood.
You know what? He was the most amazing person. So I'll paint a picture for you. Here's 4 big guys, right? All wearing GSP headbands. I was wearing a Canadian flag over my back with GSP written in the middle. And we're standing here. Matt Serra comes out on his phone with the biggest sunglasses on that you've ever seen, because 2 big shiners, right? And we're just like, hey, Matt. And, you know, the security, I don't know who it was, his manager, security, whoever, was just like, get out of here. Matt Serra stopped, ended his phone call, said, I'll call you back, and came over and talked to us for like 5 or 6 minutes. Cool. And he's looked up at us and he said, I guess after tonight I should probably get one of those headbands, eh? I couldn't believe it. It was a beautiful thing. Matt Serra,
that's really cool.
Big time respect for you.
I doubt I'll ever go to UFC fight live because I'm just not into it anymore. Mm-hmm. But I wish I did in the heyday. I wish I did back when I loved UFC between 97 and 2012.
Yeah, so we went to Montreal 3 times.
2015.
Went to Montreal 3 times, went to the Sky Dome for it. It was a lot of fun back then. I don't follow UFC anymore, but yeah, I mean, if UFC was to be included in this list, 1000% George St. Pierre, he'd probably be in my top 3.
Other thing I gotta say, when talking about Montreal crowds, watching and having been in the Bell Center many times in my life, several WWE shows. Man, I said the first time I saw Slayer was in the Bell Center. And there's just
Slayer?
Slayer, yeah.
If you know what that is.
There's just something special about that building. There really is. I've seen several hockey games in that stadium. I prefer to go to that stadium to see my Ottawa Senators than I do to see them in Ottawa. It's just a better game. You know, there's something special about that city. And I gotta say, the last time I saw a fucking pop, whether live or on TV, like that, like we got with Sammy, was the night that I was there when Shawn Michaels played the big joke on us and we thought that Brett was there. That was in 2005. I don't think that building has popped like that since that night.
Yeah, and you know, like, because it wasn't too long after that the WWE product just kind of started to slowly go down. You know what I mean? And WWE, let's be real here, and you and I have not been one to be afraid to criticize and talk about what we like. You know, it's no secret that we're big supporters of Impact Wrestling here. WWE is fucking hot right now.
WWE is finally, you know, a good friend of ours, Sean Gibson, said it perfectly tonight on his social media. He says, finally, the company that I love, WWE, is must-see TV again.
Yeah,
and
nice.
And it is. And not only WWE in general, Raw is.
Because SmackDown,
but SmackDown has been for a long time. SmackDown for the last 2 years, I think, has been must-see TV. Raw has not.
Yeah, you know,
and Raw finally is again.
Must-see TV tonight. Our boy Rip Impact, some security. So big shout out to Rip Impact there. Got to do we do our little weekly indie style. I know we talk a lot about the Ontario indie scene, but fuck, you know what, man? There's a lot of talent here. Yeah, our show. Fuck off. Not that anyone's listening anyways, but but you know, I love seeing that. I love when WWE comes to the Ontario area and Quebec and Canada in general. Like, I know Mark Wheeler and Taylor Rising were backstage at Elimination Chamber this weekend. I know Tarek was back there as well. I don't know who else was back there, but seeing Rip Impact on Raw tonight. I just love seeing this untapped market, and you look at people like a Mark Wheeler and a Taylor Rising and Alexia Nichols or whoever, and we've said to them, and I've heard it been said before, like, we're gonna miss you guys when you're gone. They're talented people,
100%.
that are there,
If it wasn't for his injury, we know for a fact that Aiden Prince would probably be on this card that we're going to, the sacrifice card, and then we would probably never see him in Destiny again because he'd be fucking he'd be property of Impact because you don't let a guy like that go.
Yeah, so check out the Ontario scene, man. Check out Barry Wrestling. Check out Destiny Wrestling. Check out Demand Lucha.
All
right, Rock Solid Wrestling.
Rock Solid.
There's a lot of good stuff, but the
Ontario C4.
Yeah,
there's so much good wrestling in Ontario.
The talent that speaks for itself. So I used to be a big, when I used to do indie wrestling before I fell out of it, I used to look for the names. Okay, let's see. This company here is bringing, holy shit, Colt Cabana and Cody Rhodes are coming in. I have to go to that show.
I did the same thing.
Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, holy shit, okay, Flares is working this guy. Yes. Alexia Nichols working this guy. Like, I'm looking at the talent now. I'm more interested in the talent than the big names.
Because the talent is better 90% of the time than and this isn't always the case, depending on the promotion, but better than the washed up talent that got cut 6 years ago from WWE. Yeah. And that it's not so much the case anymore these days, but it sure as hell was 25 years ago. You'd go to a show, who was your name? It was the Bushwhackers, it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you know what I mean? It was Abby. Those were the guys going to the indie shows because they haven't been relevant in fucking 25 years.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you bring in a name. Look at Emilio. Emilio's not bringing in has-beens, but he's bringing in names.
We heard him last week, Alan Angels.
Alan Angels. Santino Marella, still not a fucking has-been. He's still doing his thing. You know what I mean? Steve Macklin, Blake Christian, Devon Dudley coming in.
Christian Blake.
Hey, good Walsh. I hope you're ready to come back on the show, buddy.
I had to.
I hate it so fucking much.
Yeah, that's fair. I haven't called worse but better. Don't worry.
Let's quickly run down the Elimination Chamber, and then I want to talk about some hometown shit, man.
Yeah, what do you think of Sami and Roman? I'm hearing a lot of people kind of not say it was a great match, and I don't understand why. That's the feedback I've been reading online.
I haven't read any of that feedback. If I did, I'd throw my phone against the wall. I fucking loved the match. I loved everything about it. What are they complaining about? That Sami lost?
Do you think they should have pulled the trigger with Sami?
No, I don't. And they had him lose in the perfect fucking way. The aftermath of the match was perfect. Sami left looking strong. I loved that Kevin did the save, but he didn't forgive Sami right away. They still did they were separate. I love everything about this. I love that Jimmy got involved, but Jay didn't.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. I love the Jay Uso aspect of this because you got the throwback to the Royal Rumble, hit him with the chair.
Yep.
And they did that little tease where Jay was looking like he might hit Roman. I love that Sami hit Jay.
Exactly.
By mistake. I thought that was great.
Because if he goes back to Jimmy,
there's your trigger.
Bloodline, now we have a reason why.
I think that the real money is Sami and Jay. I think that's where the money is. I don't think Sami needs to win the title.
Yeah.
I think Sami and Jay.
Sami does not need that title right now.
And you could always come back to Roman and Sami too.
And listen, would I be mad if they made it a triple threat at WrestleMania? No, I wouldn't. Excuse me. No, I wouldn't. I don't think it needs to be.
I don't think so either.
And especially with the way that match played out, it's kind of perfect the way it is.
Well,
and like you just said, Sami can always come back. He doesn't need to do this right away. Look at Austin Theory. Everybody said, "Oh, he lost his Money in the Bank thing," and we even said it. Fuck, he lost his Money in the Bank cashing in on the U.S. title. They buried him. They fucking buried him. But look at him now. He's got that U.S. title. He beat Edge on TV tonight. You know what I mean? Is he buried? No, he's fucking not buried.
Looks like we're getting him and Cena at WrestleMania. That's a big spot, man.
100%.
That's a really big spot.
Always come back. Just because you lost something does not mean it's gone.
I would really like to see the Usos and Steen and Generico. Wow. Owens and
I
Zayn.
said that 2 weeks ago.
I would really like to see that match at WrestleMania, and I said it last week. I think that it should be the main event of night one. I think they can keep it hot enough to main event.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. I also think that Cody Rhodes is on fire right now.
Mhm.
He's cut. I haven't watched Raw this week yet as we record this, so I don't know what he's done tonight. But the last 2 weeks, the 2 promos that he has cut is head and shoulders above what anybody in that company is doing right now on the
100%.
microphone. It's not even close.
Yeah.
And if you tell me that I'm wrong, then you're an idiot and just stop listening to this show.
And you have no credibility.
You have no credibility. You just got a Michael Walsh right there, all right?
Walsh.
Yeah, bad Walsh. But I just think Cody's the guy to go into Mania, I guess. I still think it might have been too soon. I still think Sami and Roman could have had a great match at WrestleMania as the main event, and I think people would have been fine with it. However, we got Cody. I don't think they should put Cody over.
Well, I don't either, because they've taken Roman too far now. If they take him this close to Pedro's record not to pull the trigger on it, I think it's fucking stupid. Get him into that top 5.
Yeah.
Pedro's the 5th longest reigning champion in history. Give him Pedro's number. Give him that. Put him in that top 5.
Who's after Pedro? Is it Hogan?
It is Hogan. And
Hogan's 5 years, right?
He's not touching Hogan.
Are you sure?
No, he's not touching.
What's Hogan's reign?
Hogan's like 5,000 days or something.
That's because
Hogan
went from 84 to 88.
It's long.
He went from 84 to 88.
Yeah,
Roman's not too far off of that.
You talk. I'm
All right, you do the Googling this week, and then you can't say that I'm the Googler on the show anymore, fucking prick. I think that there's more money to be made with Cody chasing the title more. I think that story of like doing this for my dad and my family, like I think there's more to it if he loses at WrestleMania.
Yeah. And
they keep him busy again. And maybe, you go SummerSlam.
And I do like that story that my dad never had this.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And Cody can lose. Like I feel like if they put Cody over now, that the fans might turn on him again. So I don't know. And why do fans keep turning on Cody Rhodes, by the way? They're idiots.
Well, I mean, it hasn't happened yet. They say it's going to happen WWE. People just, because they want it to happen. But who's saying that? It's not WWE fans saying that.
Cody wasn't as over at the end of the Royal Rumble as I thought he was going to be. I'm just saying. I'm just worried that like he's going to get Batista.
I don't think it'll be that bad. It won't be that bad. I can't remember which journalist it was. I was reading. I sent you it was Sam Roberts. Sam Roberts flat out said this is unprecedented because we have 2 guys. People want to see them equally. People love both these stories. Fans love both the Cody story and the Sami story, and that's amazing. This is not a Batista Daniel Bryan situation also, by any means.
1,474 days for Hogan.
Cool.
Just because you're taking your sweet time there, and I couldn't stall anymore. So Roman's at 900.
Yeah, that's over another year for Roman. No, they won't be doing that, and that's fine with me.
So when do you think they pull the trigger and take the belt off Roman?
Shortly after he gets the 10/27.
You think so?
Yeah. SummerSlam.
Is
SummerSlam.
Because Backlund, I think, was longer than Hogan. Yeah, Backlund was 2,000 days.
Yeah, it goes Pedro, and then Hogan, and then Backlund. And then who is before Bruno? Who's number 2?
Number Hogan 2 again? Is Backlund.
Okay. So it goes San Martino,
Backlund.
Who's 3?
Hogan.
So who's 4?
Or was it San Martino twice? Because he had the second.
Does San Martino have 2 in there?
He has 2 big ones.
Okay.
Bruno's first reign was 2,803 days.
Mm-hmm.
And his second reign was 1,237 days.
Okay. And Pedro is 1227 or 1027.
1027, yeah. Correct.
So Sam or what's his fucking name? Roman is in grasp of the Pedro number. Give him that.
Yeah.
Give him that.
Yeah.
Drop it at SummerSlam. And I don't care who to who. Could be Sammy, could be Cody, could be a whole new fucking ball game could be a whole new person come SummerSlam. We don't know, but let him have it to SummerSlam. That's what I'm doing if I'm booking.
I want to talk about Edge.
Yeah.
Edge has made no secret about it that he's probably going to hang it up this year.
Yeah, their next run in Toronto is probably his last run.
So how do you bring it home if you're Edge?
There's several ways you can do it. Somebody brought up something to me that I thought would be really cool. Do I think it'll happen? No, but it'd be really cool. And that's you when he's allowed to come over, you bring Christian back from AEW if it's possible. You team them up. You put them against either the Bloodline or somebody like that. A brotherhood versus a brotherhood.
I got a weird one. I just thought of this off the top of my head. What about Edge and Cena one more time?
I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I think you and I are the only people that wouldn't, though.
I mean, that's probably his best rival.
I want John Cena's last match to be his last match ever to be against Randy Orton. You know how many people would fucking fight me on that?
I wouldn't hate it.
I know you wouldn't because you're a smart, intelligent individual.
I'm also handsome. Massive hammer.
Nicest thing I'll ever say about you. But Edge and Cena had a story rivalry, which I'd love to see revisited one more time.
I don't want them to do the Kurt Angle route with them, where they're like, let's put Baron Corbin over and not.
No, neither do I. I'd like to see somebody from his. If it is somebody, if he is going to put somebody over on the way out, it should be somebody like, you're going to hate me for this. Maybe not you, everybody else. Someone like Dom Mysterio.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay. Dom Mysterio puts him out in
the only thing with that
match,
is like,
or a like somebody with no offense to Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin just wasn't the name to put out a fucking star like not to mention the fact that it never felt important. Okay, it was, hey everybody, this is Kurt Angle's last match. Whether he win, lose, or draw, he's gone. So we're gonna give him Baron Corbin. There was no finality to it. There was no importance to it. We didn't give a fuck about that match. And Kurt deserved more than that. Edge deserves more than that.
Do you think we see Kurt Angle's last match presented by Conrad Thompson this year?
Yes, I do. Well, this year, I don't know. Do I think it happens at Conrad Thompson and Jim Crockett Productions? 1,000% I do.
I think it happens this year.
I have a small list of names. No, you know who I think is first? Jeff Jarrett.
You think Jeff Jarrett? I don't think Jarrett's going to hang him up this year.
You know, I think he's going to do it because his dad just passed.
Nah, he's hot in AEW still. Jarrett's got a hot spot in AEW, man.
Not wrong.
Kurt Angle, the time's ticking for Kurt Angle. He's not in great shape. He's every year it's going to be hard.
I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's this year, but do I think it's going to happen? Yes, I do.
Who's on your small list?
To take on Cena, or I mean, take on Kurt Angle. Oof.
That's doable.
I've got
big difference.
Because my number one name is not doable.
Who's your number one name if you
Bret
could?
Hart.
Yeah, okay.
If Bret could go, even if it wasn't been like I don't expect a 1999 match out of the guys, but if he could just go, I would love to see them do it because both of them always wanted it and it never happened.
Yeah, but that won't.
But it won't. But my realistic, I think Kurt can still wrestle. Okay,
I think he's got enough to give.
I think he could still go and wrestle. So I'd like it to be against like a speedball Mike Bailey, I don't think the name's big enough. No, I don't. But I'm saying somebody of that caliber of talent.
I have two names.
I've got one, and I think it's one of the ones you're thinking of.
You go, and I'll tell you my two.
Josh Alexander.
Josh Alexander is I think the most realistic name that should happen.
Yes.
They have very similar styles. Josh has been endorsed by Kurt Angle with the ankle lock. I'm going to put one out there that will never happen, but I just think it would be great for Kurt, and the name is respectable enough that would do Kurt honor.
Okay.
I'm going to say Okada. Like, there's no like nothing that
there's
would tie
nothing
them
there.
together, except that Okada's the best wrestler in the world right now.
Which
You
is
know,
weird to me, but
I just think that would be great. Okada could put Kurt through a good match. And so could Josh. I would like to see Josh over everybody else,
yes,
but
100%.
I think Okada would just be really cool. Like Kurt Angle versus Okada. That's cool to me.
What about Kenny?
Kenny Omega?
Yeah.
He'll probably be WWE bound by that point.
Could be.
Rumors. Kenny would be a great choice too, but Tony Khan's just being a big dick to everybody lately,
Yeah.
so I don't think we're going to see AEW talent out there as much anymore.
Jay White.
Jay White, I don't think has the big enough name in North America to do it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a great match.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's the thing. Speedball Mike Bailey would be a great choice. Unfortunately, and not a knock on Speedball, because I think he's one of the most respected wrestlers in the world right now.
Yeah.
But from a mainstream name value, you that's not the guy that you're going to draw, unfortunately.
I've got one last name. I don't know if it's doable because I don't know what shape he's in. But one last name, just because it'd be silly. I know it's silly, but I just want to see it because we never got to see it. Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, I mean,
if he could go, and I don't know that he can't.
The problem with that, though, is that Kurt shouldn't be in the position to have to carry somebody. Kurt needs that help, right?
Yes. I just want to see a match where, the only way to win is by ankle lock. You know what I mean? Ankle lock versus ankle lock. That'd be fun for me.
That's my Josh.
Jake Hager?
Jake Hager? Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He's not my choice before Josh by any means. But, he can go.
I'm gonna hang my hat on Josh Alexander.
Me too.
Especially if he's still the Impact Wrestling World Champion. We've talked about this many times, fighting guys like Bully Ray, fighting guys like Kushida coming up. All this is gonna do is help make that title stronger. Putting Josh over Kurt Angle, that it would be humongous for Josh and Impact. And Kurt loves him. He has a love for Impact. You know what I mean? They saved him.
Yes. So we got off the tangent here. Let's go back before we go into our list. Let's go back. And the question was Edge.
Yes.
Who is Edge's last match?
I don't want.
I'm gonna say right now it's probably gonna be in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a 1-on-1? Is it an intergender match with him and Beth? What are we doing? How are you booking it? Don't try to guess how WWE is booking it because it's going to be against
I think it'd probably be Randy Orton. In all honesty,
I would love that.
I think
I would be.
That makes sense with the talent because again, you're not going to get Edge and Christian versus.
He came back in against Randy. Let him leave against Randy. I'm okay with that.
Like to me, the perfect scenario is Edge and Christian against the Hardys, but you're not going to get that.
It's never going to happen.
It will never happen. And
I'm going on. I'm going on a limb right now. You can put me on record saying you will never see Jeff Hardy wrestle in a major promotion ever again.
Really, eh?
If you've been reading all the stuff about his charges lately,
I think we see him.
Never happening.
I think we see him in AEW.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
If he hasn't been released by now, I think we see him back in AEW.
I think the only reason he hasn't been released is because it's the bad PR and it looks bad on Tony with the charges the way they're going right now for him to be like, well, fuck you, buddy. He's gonna wait. He's gonna make sure that goes away in the news and then take care of it.
You're
never seeing him wrestle again.
Tony Khan frustrates me also because here we are 3 weeks ago sticking up for Tony Khan and being like, hey man, great job fighting to get Mark Briscoe. Really respect that. And he goes and does this stupid shit with Ariel Helwani. Grow the fuck up.
Unfortunately, he's not the only one. Apparently, Ariel's not a liked man in some circles.
No, he's banned from UFC.
He's banned from UFC.
Him and
Dana doesn't like him. Jonathan Coachman doesn't like him. I don't get it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm Canadian. I love Ariel Helwani. I think he's a great guy.
I followed Ariel right from the beginning.
Yeah.
I came up when he was first doing the MMA hour.
Yeah.
And he would be post fight UFC, before he did the Taker interview, when he was interviewing nobodies, I was I like this guy, man. He was good.
Always liked him. I never got the hate on him.
I get it though. He is a little bit of a shit server sometimes. But that's his job.
He never really deserved the treatment he's been getting from, let's say, a Tony Khan. That interview you did with Tony Khan where Tony gave him nothing, that was on fucking Tony. That wasn't on Ariel at all. Ariel deserved better than that. Now, Tony can second.
Yeah, I'm on my fuck you, Tony Khan this week. We'll be back to good job, Tony Khan, next week when you do something. Tony just he's so frustrating.
Well, he would get a big pop and fuck you, Tonyville.
Fuck you, Tony.
But that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about every other place in the world.
I'm
going
to
to
be upset at me when Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor in Jacksonville is number 3?
Is that his hometown?
I don't know.
I know he owns a fucking.
I'm just trying.
Or his daddy owns a football team there. That doesn't mean that's his hometown. I've got my number 1 and my number 2 down, locked, and loaded. There's no fucking way you're ever no matter what is on your list today. Nothing is going to change my number 1 and my number 2. You know what my number 1 is. Yes. I'm not going to ruin it for them. You don't know what my number 2 is. We have not discussed it.
I think I have an idea for it, and I think it's going to be my number 3.
I hate you so much. You won't change my mind. But
my number, I honestly, even to this moment right now, I'm going back and forth on my number 3 and my number 2.
Okay.
And I can flip a coin on it either way.
Right.
But my number 7.
Okay, here we go.
Well, I mean, the man that inspired the list might as well start off the list.
I knew this would be. You tried to trick me. You tried to make me believe this wouldn't be on your list, and I knew it had to be. This is a great moment.
Sami Zayn's debut on the main roster with Bret Hart announcing him versus John Cena. Sami was so pumped up, he fucking tore his rotator cuff on his entrance.
Right.
And still put on a hell of a match. This is Montreal,
How cool is it that didn't Kevin Owens also debut on the main roster
against
Cena?
Yes,
like, how cool is it those two best friends got to do the same thing, right?
Yeah, I'll give the nod to Sami, though, because Bret Hart introduced him in Montreal.
In Montreal.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Even though I think Bret almost forgot his name before he introduced him. A great superstar, Sami Zayn. Great. Bret wasn't fantastic in that spot, but
funny if you just said, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, but the crowd knew, right? The crowd knew what was coming on. Great match. The crowd was behind Sami. Great way to bring somebody on to the main roster.
1000%. I remember that night well, and I was so proud of Sami. Knowing what he had done in ROH, what he had done in NXT, and then seeing him in his home, getting to debut on the main roster in his hometown, it was a great moment for a wrestling fan, for somebody who used to live in Montreal.
Yeah.
And Montreal is technically, I was born there. I lived there for several years. I lived almost 10 years of my life there. You can almost call that my hometown as well. So I have some pride in that city. So for me to watch that on television was great.
Yeah, just for me being a huge Ring of Honor fan and watching Sami come up and get that moment with Cena.
Yeah.
Sami really did a lot of things that he has no business doing in the WWE.
Right.
You look at El Generico and you look at Sami Zayn and just the evolution and even where he's taken the Sami Zayn character.
That conspiracy theory gimmick he did worked so well. I don't think you and I said it, but I don't think anybody else fucking said it. At the moment that the bloodline only get as big as it got, and we knew it. We fucking knew it was going to be the biggest thing. It was going to turn him into the star, and it has. He's name a bigger face than him right now. I'm going to go on record right now saying that there's the two biggest faces in the company are Sami and Cody. We're the two biggest heels in the company. Don't fucking laugh at me. Are Roman and Dominic Mysterio.
Dominic Mysterio, and the commentators put him over like a massive prick. Dominic did not make my list, unfortunately, but I could put those fucking skits at Rey Mysterio's house. Right. Those are great. Yeah. My number 6. This is where I had the hard time. I was going between about 3 or 4 different spots here.
Okay.
And I went with the number 6 just because it was even a bigger moment than just wrestling.
Sure. And
you could make an argument for this being a number 1, pulling back the curtain and being in real life. And I'm going to 2001.
You can make me so nervous there. Okay.
And I'm going with Kurt Angle winning the World Heavyweight Championship at Unforgiven. I believe 13 days removed from the World Trade Center attacks.
Yeah. This was a great moment because, number one, it was in his hometown, but he was also the American hero, Kurt Angle, the gold medalist himself, winning the championship right when America needed him. Yeah, I didn't even think of this one, and good call
Yeah,
on this. Yeah,
this was
for sure. This
this.
may have even been like a 4 or 5 for me, but yeah, good call.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Ross played his part in this. This was like Jim Ross was at his best, I
Yeah,
think, in 2001, 2002,
yeah,
like for sure. This was in the middle of a great feud that Austin and Angle were having that spanned over a lot of months when they were doing the comedy stuff when they were both hurt. Then it turned into that amazing match they had at SummerSlam,
Mhm.
which also has inspired another list that I want to do in the future. The top 7 title matches with non-finishes.
No,
I think that would be fun. Um, but yeah, Kurt Angle, Montreal, the whole Angle family's in the ring. Sexy Karen Angle's in there. Woo! Like me some Karen Angle, Karen Jarrett,
Mrs. Jarrett.
Mrs. Jarrett. Just a great moment. But then again, like I don't understand it. I mean, I can't fully understand it because we're Canadian, but like I could just imagine like watching that as an American and just needing that escape and needing that like fuck yeah moment. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I just think it was really cool. And Kurt, Kurt and Austin magic together.
100%.
We're gonna go to Canada again for number 5. And we're gonna go to the greatest pay-per-view that's ever happened in Toronto. Unforgiven 2006, Edge versus John Cena.
Was that Unforgiven was in Toronto in 2006?
I don't want to talk about it. This is in my opinion, this was the like Edge at his best.
I don't know if I would count this. Okay,
What?
and I'm gonna
Edge
tell
in
you, I'm
Toronto?
gonna tell you why. Yeah,
Because he's from Orangeville?
no, definitely not because he's built in Toronto, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it counts. But he didn't get the reaction he wanted. He wanted because he wanted to be a fucking heel.
No, he did not. They
You
built
know?
this match for him to be a
Yeah, I
face.
guess.
Because they did the home and home series
Yeah.
where Cena was in his hometown and Edge cut a babyface promo basically as being like, we're coming to my hometown
Okay.
and we're gonna fight in
All right.
my match.
All
Like,
right,
no.
all right, you win.
Edge was
Yeah.
playing a babyface here. The crowd, I was there in the front row. I'll never forget it. And
Yeah.
I could have put this at my number 1 just for sentimental
He
reasons.
definitely switched gears the very next night in Montreal.
Yes.
I was there that night when he comes out and he says, I heard you all want me to get my rematch tonight right here in my home country, but we're not in my home country. We're in Canada's retarded cousin, Montreal. Crowd turn on him instantly. That man knew how to get heat.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking so good.
Yes, especially with not being in Toronto, he did not give a shit.
Exactly.
But like to me, this was the peak of the rated R superstar.
Yeah.
And I know he'd go on to main event WrestleManias and stuff, and that's different. Like that's a different peak. But like this was like edgy, cool, hardcore. Like this was like the coolest I feel like Edge ever was. Like he was like the guy that people looked at and he was like, fuck, this guy is like should main event everything. He's the fucking star. He's a cool guy. Like Edge was awesome in 2006.
Here's a just a side note, just a question for you, a little off topic. Is John Cena Edge's greatest rival? I think so.
I think so as well. Like Randy Orton would be right
Randy
there.
Orton's up there, but I'm gonna go Cena.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they because the world title was Undertaker. I would say Undertaker.
Undertaker's up there. Matt Hardy's up there. You got some names to talk about.
Edge,
but I think Cena.
You know what? I think I might give it to Taker over Cena.
Oh yeah,
I might. They main evented WrestleMania. They had a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, but Edge beat up Cena.
I put Cena in a lot of those lists though of best like because I think he was Randy's best opponent as well. I think he may have been Brock's best opponent, rival. You know what I mean? I think he's a lot for a lot of people.
He had a hell of a great match with my number 4.
Okay, go for it.
We're going to Seattle with Daniel Bryan. And I'm going to just say Seattle in general because you can really take your pick on this one. Now, my moment will be his retirement speech.
Yeah.
Because that was just fucking one of the most emotional things I've ever watched in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But do not sleep on the moment where John Cena and Randy Orton were doing the unification segment with all the former world champions in the ring.
Yeah.
And the entire arena is just chanting Daniel Bryan over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck what you want to say about him now. Triple H, you could just see him seething with anger.
Yeah.
During this.
Yeah.
And to the point where Mark Henry had to grab his hand and raise it. But if you watch everybody else in that, everybody's smirking. Yeah. Right? Brian's just laughing. He's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. You see the Miz who's supposed to be behind him going like,
yeah. Triple H, he did not like the fact that the fans were hijacking the show.
Yeah.
He was not a fan of this at all. It showed. I think, if you talk to him 10 years later and he looks back on it, I think his view's a little bit different.
Well, 100%. Because he still wasn't, like, Triple H is still trying to get himself over.
Right.
Right. It's the same thing with CM Punk in Philadelphia.
I wouldn't be happy in Triple H's position. I
wouldn't be happy in the WWE's position. You're building a unification match for your two champions with who you think are your two biggest stars, and the whole arena is chanting for a guy who at that point hasn't even sniffed the main event scene.
Yeah.
But two beautiful moments with that retirement speech.
Yeah, the fact that there's two, I almost feel like I have to hear what your number 3 is, but I almost feel that deserves the number 3 spot.
Well, my number 3, I think, is your number 2. Is it though? Oh, I don't know which one I want to go with here. I'm gonna go with number 3. I'm going to Wembley Stadium.
You piece of shit.
I'm going to Wembley Stadium.
Number 2.
It was my original number 2. I'll tell you why. When I get to my number 2, I'll defend it. British Bulldog and Bret Hart. God. To me, I'll tell you why though that this is more of my number 3, and this almost got bumped to my number 4, and I'll tell you why. Hold on. I'm going to tell you why. Because to me, when I think of SummerSlam '92. It's more a Bret Hart's moment to me than the British Bulldogs.
But it wasn't.
But I mean, like, Bret is the guy that kind of...
Only because Bret had to carry the match because fucking he was a useless lump.
People kind of
but they
give that moment to Bret just as much as the Bulldog.
Now, but in that moment... In that moment, that's what your list is about. It's about those moments, those hometown moments. This was not Bret's fucking hometown moment. When the bell rang and that fucking championship got lifted over Davy's head, you got the fucking pop.
The British Bulldog's gonna win, whether he wants to or not. The best thing of all time. That is a moment in itself. I went back and forth on this. I just I don't know, and I said this about why I didn't put Shawn Michaels and Sid on my list. I don't know if the stadium hurts or helps these things. Now, Wembley I thought was really loud and really passionate, and the horns going and whatnot. But I just feel like there was something a little bit more special about the number 2 moment.
I'm so upset.
Yeah, I know, and you're gonna hate the number 2 moment.
No, because it's my number 1, isn't it?
No, it's not your number 1.
Wow.
No, come on. But we are going to Chicago.
Yeah, I knew you were going to end up in Chicago. I should have known this was number 2.
It was my number 3 originally, but
to me, this is number 4. But all right.
CM Punk versus John Cena.
Yeah.
And now let me ask you.
Number 3, not number 4. Number 3.
This was my original number 3.
I have to give it credit. I really have to give it credit. Nobody, if I'm gonna if any city's gonna rival Montreal for that kind of passion, it's gonna be Chicago.
I think Chicago has them beat only because they've had more moments to have them beat.
Yeah.
That's Montreal.
That's because AEW's there every fucking second week.
Let me ask you a question. If I was doing more moments than non-WWE, where do you put Punk's return?
Punk's return to AEW?
Yeah. To return to wrestling in Chicago when he had his comeback.
That's again. I think that's number 3. It's got to be behind Wembley for me.
You really think that's behind Wembley? Eh? I think that might take my number 1 spot.
It'd be at least number. It still doesn't take over my number 2. Maybe number 2. Maybe number 2. But
it's 1 or 2 for me.
It doesn't beat my number 1. Nothing beats my number 1 because when I first started doing this list, like in my head for you didn't tell me at first it was WWE only.
Yeah.
I was going all over. I was watching fucking Von Erich fucking shit. I was watching Freebirds. I was watching Jerry Lawler. I was watching AEW. Nothing will beat my number 1, and definitely not CM Punk.
The Von Erichs would give that a run too, man. Von Erichs were the thing with why I couldn't why I just narrowed it down to WWE. and I said this to you, is like it was just such a weekly thing for the Von Erichs to be that
Exactly. So
over
what
that
do
you
you
can't just pick a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know exactly where from Texas they were. Like, I know Kerry won the world title in Dallas. Were they from Dallas? Were they from like? It's why
Yeah.
Steve Austin's not on my list. Like, all his big moments were never in Victoria, Texas.
No.
Right? So
No, but at the same time, you have to. But you know, what do you do? Do you broaden it, or do you give it to where they were built from? Because that's what we do with Edge.
yeah, I give it to
You
where they're
know,
built from.
for where they're built from. So Taker's not from Arizona.
It's Death Valley, bro. Don't be stupid. CM Punk and John Cena, though, this crowd was incredible.
Yes.
This was before, like, this was the coming out party for like Chicago being like, yo,
yeah,
we're not here to fuck around anymore. You've always respected us as wrestling fans, but like they were the number one wrestling town, and they still rivaled the number one wrestling town of all time.
When it comes to these wrestling towns, these passionate wrestling towns, do you go for me? Do you go Chicago, Montreal, Philly, New York?
Montreal's not that high for me.
You don't think so, eh?
No.
You think you put Philly over Montreal?
Yeah.
Yeah, you put New York over Montreal?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I even put Toronto maybe over Montreal as well.
Oh, no, I'm going to call you on that one. I've been to too many shows in Montreal to tell you right now. Being in there,
I've been to a lot of shows in Toronto.
It's a different thing, man.
The thing with Toronto and Montreal, and especially with Montreal, it has to be all the stars aligning for Montreal to get like that.
I don't agree. I've been to several shows in Montreal, and they've all. And I'm saying, it's not even just wrestling; it's everything I've witnessed in Montreal. There's something special about those crowds. You'll be at a concert, the fucking guitar tech comes out, fucking waves to the crowd, and they'll fucking pop the fuck out of him. You know what I mean? Like
awesome,
Montreal. I put it. Maybe I put it. Chicago, Philly, Montreal. I think
New
I put
York. You can't put
York.
Montreal over New York.
I think I do.
Maybe
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe like depends on the venue. I think.
Barclay Center.
Well, I'm thinking Hammerstein,
Madison Square Garden, Hammerstein. New York is probably above Philly in all honesty.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about rabid fans. I'm not just thinking about just passionate. Like those. Like I'm thinking about. You're right because
New York's
one
probably number one.
One night stand was New York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York's number one because they have the lineage to go with it too.
New York.
You want to talk about rabid fans?
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about rabid fans? You watch a New York crowd when Bruno comes out, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to be their hometown. Like Bruno was like kind of a hometown boy, you know what I mean? The Italian background at that time period.
At that point in time, though, your hometown was where your promotion was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He belonged to the New York territory. Didn't matter where he was born or raised or everything. He belonged to Vince. He belonged to Vince Senior, and he belonged to what was it, CWF or whatever it is, or WWF. That's where he belonged. That was his hometown.
Yeah,
things were different back then, right?
Big time. But yeah, New York. I think maybe New York, Chicago, New York, Chicago, Philly are the big three.
Yeah.
I still put Toronto over Montreal personally, but I think maybe I'm just thinking more as like the history of wrestling in general. I think
sure
Maple Leaf Gardens trumps the form because they had bigger events, like bigger promotions.
100%.
But fan base, the rabidness is there. Like, it's not a slight on Montreal.
Every single show since the Screwjob has had fans going there wanting fucking blood. I believe it was, I don't know if it was Corey Graves or Michael Cole said on the pay-per-view, but someone made a great point. They said, after 25 years, I think Montreal finally feels redemption for the Screwjob. Sami Zayn finally gave him that piece. And I believe that.
He didn't win.
No, but they got their moment finally.
They got their moment, but they didn't get a payoff.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Montreal, you're always the bridesmaids, you losers. I'm just kidding. I love Montreal.
All right. Are we ready for the number one? Because it's got to be my number one as well, because there's no way it's not.
Can you feel the floor shaking?
Fuck, man.
Should I put in the clip of TJ talking about this?
Yeah, do it.
All right. My number one moment is the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view with the Hart Foundation versus Team America. And before we talk about it, I hope I have this clipped. Otherwise, I just fucking cost myself a bunch of work to do. But just because it was almost a year ago to the day that we aired this interview, let's let TJ Hart, wow, I'm in heart mode. TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd, describe what it was like to be in the building that night, and then we'll come back and talk
Since we're talking about great family moments for the Hart family, I do have two follow-up questions. We're going to start with something that's really near and dear to Tyler and I as Canadians. We're big fans of the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view from 1997.
Hell yeah.
Can you fill us in? What's that day like for you guys? I know you were young. You had to be like, 17, I guess. And you're not working for the company, but what's it like being there? And what was the atmosphere like in the ring after the show when the whole family was out there?
Those entrances. Oof.
Man, those entrances, like, that's art to me. Those entrances. I watch it back. Like I watch it back. I don't know if it's because of my injury or just my age or both, but I'm like more emotional now as I'm older, and like especially sentimental things, and like I in a good way, but I can't watch that. I can't watch those entrances without like tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
I think those entrances are art, and I think like it's done so perfectly, and each guy that comes out like gets a little bit bigger reaction. Like it's so crazy. And then there's like, it's just like, it was done so perfectly how like their entrances are just that top and they all like meet up there and walk down for this, like this gunsling, this 5-on-5 like showdown.
Yeah.
It's so perfect, man. But you have you have Owen, Davey, Jim, and Pillman out there. And then before Brett's music, there's this little bit of a lull, this pot, and you feel the building start to rumble. Like I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because like I get very emotional when I watch that match. It's the deep dive is on the other side is that it's kind of the last time the Hart family is like all together like as one like amazing cohesive unit is literally like that. There's a big after that pay-per-view there's a big party at Stu's, and it was amazing. And so like that's like. And then that's kind of the last time the family's all together like that. Because then after that is a screw job, then it's WCW. Then, everyone's on different schedules. And then Owen's passing, and then, just mayhem. But, man, I just remember like being at the building all day. I remember like Mick Foley remembered our names. I always talk about that with him. He remembered our names from the last time WWE had been in Calgary was the live event we wrestled at the Saddle Dome in October 96. Now this is July 97. So I remember Foley's like, "Hey, are you guys wrestling on the card tonight?" Obviously he's kidding, but I just remember being like, "Yeah, they know Mankind knows who I am. He knows my name. How do you know my name's TJ?" Whatever. But yeah, man, it was unbelievable. And then like the roller coaster of that match. I'm sitting front row with Harry. And throughout the show, we were like obviously talking back and forth. But during that match, the crowd is so loud, we literally can't hear each other. It was nuts. It was like deafening. And then when I think Bruce is the one who kind of opens the railing and then once Ted comes across, then like Harry and I knew like we're coming in the ring too. Like it's on. And like that wasn't planned. That just happened. That was not like, hey, and then at the end everyone gets in the ring. It just literally just happened.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that was not planned. That was Bruce. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Bruce or Wayne open up the railing and kind of let Ted in, and then everybody comes in. Like that's why like I watch it back a whole bunch of times. But like Natty comes in later. She's not sitting front. She's further back. This was not some planned thing that, hey, and then after the match, the whole family comes in the ring. That was not planned. I think the plan is like Austin comes and gets attacked and does the police stuff and gets taken away, which they did all that. I think that's it. Not, hey, then since we're in Calgary, the Hart family takes over as always.
Yeah. I like that Stu got involved in the finish too. And
yeah,
he probably got a kick
That was so funny. There was a Stu chant during the match too. Like it was cool.
All right, TJ is the best. We got to get him back on.
Listen, if you're going by eras, okay, be it not even like Golden Age, New Generation, Attitude Era, Relentless Aggression. If you're just going by like chunks of years, right? That chunk of like the let's say the 90s, even to the 2000s, I'm putting Canadian Stampede as a whole, as a pay-per-view, in my top three, I think, of that
Taka
era.
Michinoku against Great
Of
Sasaki,
that-
Triple H and Foley,
This was
Vader and
this
Undertaker.
was your house.
Yeah.
Okay, this wasn't a fucking SummerSlam. This wasn't WrestleMania. This is one of the best pay-per-views of that era, of definitely of the 90s.
So
And it was because Calgary was so ready to see. It was right in the middle of this US versus Canada thing that Brett had started. And it just became this organically became this beautiful fucking thing that yeah, the US was really playing their part and hating Brett and all that stuff and loving Steve Austin. But Canada, they got to Canada and all of a sudden they just went unglued. I've never seen
Everywhere.
anything like that in my life.
that flag match they did in Halifax was
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Like wild. So there's two areas of this. Well, there's three parts to this that you can talk about. My favorite part personally is the entrances.
So you got your entrance, you got your match, you got your post match.
The entrances,
Entrance is
the way
one of
they
most special
built
things
it,
I've ever seen.
the way they built it, you could feel like you could actually see the camera shaking. But like
Yeah.
Pillman came out first,
Yeah.
great pop. Anvil came out second, bigger pop. Bulldog comes out third, even bigger pop. Here comes Owen,
And-
monster pop.
Whoever
And then the timing though between Owen and Brett's entrance where they just let it
yeah,
fester and then that guitar hit. Holy shit.
whoever put that together, whoever said, okay, this is the order they're doing, was a fucking genius. Because there was no better way to do that. You know, and that's not I'm not trying to diminish the legacies or the memories of Pillman, Anvil, Bulldog, but that was the perfect. They knew that each one would get a bigger pop than the other. They were smart enough to know who was going to get the biggest pops.
Yep.
Owen was the most loved heart. Brett was God, you know, especially in Calgary.
Yep.
He superseded. Everybody loved Owen, but there wasn't a word for what they had for Brett, you know. So what they did there was perfect. Having Owen come after all the others only made sense.
Yeah. Then you break it into the match, which was booked perfectly.
100%.
Stu got involved, which was great.
Yeah.
Then you get the post match with Austin being Austin and the handcuffs flipping everybody off.
Yep.
And then the whole Hart family
Which
comes
was great
in.
because they sent their TV audience home happy too, because yes, the live crowd is ready to jump the barricade and fucking boot fuck Steve Austin, but you also have a million people watching on television that aren't from Canada, so you got to make them happy because over there the heels just won. For us, the faces won, but over there the heels just won. So you got to make them happy too.
I would
That's
love
a hard thing to do, man.
I'd love to hear what it's like from some of our American listeners of, you know, watching a pay-per-view like Elimination Chamber. Because, well, it might be a little different, I guess, because Sami really got over everywhere.
100%.
But, you know, watching like Edge in Toronto.
and
How about that?
Sami's
That's a
not-
great one.
And there's never been something like what we're seeing right now, though. No one before or since has ever been so loathed in one country and loved in another. We've never seen it before, never seen it since.
Well, Edge in 06, he was, except for that one, but it was only for one.
But it wasn't
right?
like a full
Yeah.
year-long story. You know what I mean? I would love to talk to any of our American listeners that whose name isn't Anthony Sorelli. Anybody else could talk to me about that. And Anthony just
It's because he doesn't like Hell in a Cell 97.
well, like he just can't talk to me about anything from '97 at all now. You know what I mean? If he can't talk about October '97 to me, then he sure as hell not talking about this pay-per-view. So
I mean, maybe that would be a great return, one-time only return episode for Classic Match Faster.
I like Rob listening to the show though.
That's fair. That being said,
We didn't talk about the post match.
post match was
Other than the
it was-
fingers, but
it was
getting the
the-
whole family.
apparently that was like the last real time the whole family was together too.
well, yeah, because Owen died less than 2 years later.
Pillman died later that year.
Pillman died later that year, just like what, the next 2 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
And then everything kind of started. Brett leaves the company in a couple months. Everything kind of falls apart from there. And then, of course, once Stu died, I think everything just.
Well, once Owen died is when the family divided, right? Because all the workers were trying to still work for Vince, and it was ugly.
It was.
All right, that's my list. What do you think? What was not on there that you would have put on there?
Nothing. You got all the major points.
I thought you'd fight me for not having Shawn Michaels at Royal Rumble 97 on there.
Because I totally forgot about Kurt in Pittsburgh. I was ready to fight you on that. But Kurt in Pittsburgh, I think, deserves to be on there more than Shawn in San Antonio. Don't get me wrong, I love Shawn in San Antonio. If we're going to talk about anything, we're going to talk about Royal Rumble 97. Like, he's had a lot of San Antonio moments, but Royal Rumble 97 is the one you talk about.
Yeah, you could have put him and Triple H had a really good match on Raw in and San Antonio as well for the world title.
The thing is, you and I discussed this off air. Royal Rumble 97, we're not into the good part of 97 yet. Okay, no. January 97 is basically the 13th month of 1996. Now, I love WWE 1996. You love WWE 1996. Jay loves WWE 96.
He definitely does.
But nobody else loves WWE. WWE was not on top of their game in 1996.
In ring, they were.
What I mean? Well, yes, but they weren't end of 97. They weren't 1998. They weren't that cool thing to love yet. So the crowd reactions weren't there because the crowds weren't there.
Yeah.
So Shawn had the shitty end of the stick in 96, 97. He was holding this company that just wasn't cool yet.
Well,
and he was trying to
shoving him down our throat too, right?
Absolutely.
And the fans rejected him.
Yeah. And we have this complete piece of shit trying to be this babyface, and it just wasn't working. Well, it was and it wasn't. But until he, when we seen his true colors later on in 97, then I think he worked more, even though I know you don't like DX in 97.
They suck.
But I think Shawn Michaels is at the top of his game at that era. I'll take heel Shawn Michaels 97
from an in-ring standpoint.
Yeah,
you will not get an argument out of me.
Okay.
From a on the microphone standpoint, nothing but go away heat. No interest in him at all.
Okay. Good list. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it.
Finally did a good list this year.
I wanted to hate it. Well, I'll give a call to Emilio, see how he feels about it. I'm sure he's really pissed you didn't talk about Kane in Hell.
That great moment when he burned Jim Ross in Hell.
Yeah.
A couple honorable mentions, both involving Trish Stratus.
Yes, I'm actually
really hard to leave that unforgiven moment.
Yeah,
the reason why I just feel like Edge overshadowed the moment for that pay-per-view. I thought his was bigger.
Yeah.
Trish versus Charlotte also was a moment I considered at SummerSlam.
Yeah, sure.
I also really, really wanted to put on when Christian turned on Edge in Toronto. I love that moment. That was fairly powerful for a totally different reason than anything else on the list, but just didn't kind of fit the vibe. And I think that's it. Now I will give one, and it's a WCW moment, and like they never produce great moments, so I'm just gonna give them one.
Okay.
And I'm going with when Goldberg won the world title in Atlanta, beating Hogan. That was his hometown.
Yeah, okay.
But again, not list worthy. But hey, it was a great moment that WCW put out.
Do you count Undertaker being inducted in the Hall of Fame in Arlington, Texas?
No.
It doesn't count for you?
No, not at all. Caitlyn defeated Eve in Houston, Texas for the Divas Championship.
Yeah.
I don't even remember William Regal defeating Santino Umbrella for the IC title.
Ooh, oh yeah, because that's Freddie's from Mississauga. I was gonna say the Miracle in the Land.
I thought about that as well, but
he's not actually from Italy.
Edge beating Booker T at Mania 18. Who cares?
Does Booker T have any Houston moments?
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you count? I guess I could have really thought about this one. Cactus Jack's debut in the WWF in Madison Square Garden, but he's a Long Island guy. It's different.
He's from Truth and Consequences, New Mexico.
Fair. What about The Rock defeating John Cena at WrestleMania? Miami? Still not list worthy for me.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
he got popped because he was The Rock, or
Yeah.
because he was in Miami. Anything ever cool? Any cool hometown moments in places unknown?
Parts unknown.
Parts unknown?
Yeah, the Jake the Snake turned on the Ultimate Warrior, and the parts unknown. Yeah, I got nothing.
I got
I'm
nothing.
sure there's a million in New Japan Pro Wrestling and all that shit, but
Can I tell you about a pop?
how about Shinsuke Nakamura winning the NXT title in did he win it in against Kevin Owens? No, that was Finn Balor.
Was that
Sorry.
in Japan?
Yeah, that was Finn Balor though.
Okay. Can I tell you about a pop we're gonna get probably late this year, if not early next year? At Destiny Wrestling, when Aiden Prince makes his fucking return.
How about
They're gonna tear that place.
how about when Josh Alexander comes to Windsor?
Is he? He's not from Windsor.
Yeah,
Though.
Toronto, Windsor,
Yeah, okay.
same shit.
Isn't he from Bolton? He's
I
from.
wouldn't tell people that.
He's from fucking Bolton, dude.
I got nothing else. I got nothing else. You got anything?
I am from Montreal, and and I would get popped in my hometown because they pop for everything.
Oh, you would not. You would be the exception to the rule. They go back to Toronto. They sing Ole or something. Ole, 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 ole.
And on behalf of my beautiful hometown, which I never plan to live in again, for beautiful city to live in, or beautiful city to visit, horrible city to live in. On behalf of Montreal and an actually good list by my friend Tyler, we've been counted out.
Cheers.